from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, April 14th. So today we have the moon in Aquarius all day. Of course, we just shifted into this Aquarian energy shortly after we had our last quarter moon in Capricorn late last evening. Of course, yesterday came with a lot of weight, a lot of heaviness, a lot of responsibility. We're definitely moving our way through that particular funk. And as we kind of dive into the moon being in Aquarius energy, we are provided with that opportunity to kind of detach from those particular emotions, really see what it is that's been illuminated to us over the last couple of days of the moon being in Capricorn, because of course we need to know where the blockages are, the challenges are, the restrictions are. And the funk that we've been in should have shown us where in our lives those particular restrictions are alive and well. The moon in Aquarius pushes the boundaries of what it is that we need to do in order to kind of rebel against those particular restrictions, really kind of set ourselves free, liberate ourselves from some of these blockages, if you will. And the moon in Aquarius acts as the observer. So we are able to see things from a bird's eye view, a different type of perspective, and therefore see the bigger picture on where it is that we can progress, where we can do a little bit better in the ways that we haven't been doing our best. So there are 12 different aspects here today, and 9 of them involve the moon. The moon in Aquarius will be making a positive interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer, who of course is in this Aries energy. And lucky for us, this is a positive interaction, which means that we are starting to see where it is that our growth, our progress is actually taking place, especially in our emotional selves, healing some of the past pain, trauma, and wounds. And of course, in that process, really kind of building a brand new identity for ourselves. Saturn, the Lord of Karma, is making a beautiful aspect with the North Node, the true node, if you will. Of course, we have Saturn in Pisces energy, we have the North Node in Taurus energy, and water and earth energy gives us the elements for growth, for change, for transformation. Saturn interacting with the North Node in this way is definitely showing us where it is that we are bossing up, where it is that we are very invested in doing better, in our growth, in our development, in our healing. We absolutely are identifying where it is that we have a new passion, a new desire to actually move on to be better. Of course, this is kind of illuminating for us where it is that we have to boss up to new roles and responsibilities as well, to make these kind of commitments to ourselves, to have the attitude to kind of orient ourselves towards the blockages and challenges that we know are going to pop up in our path in the direction that we're currently walking, in order for us to align with a new mission, a new purpose, a new adventure. So we're definitely down to the nitty-gritty. We have a little bit of a reality check that comes in with Saturn energy, but this is actually giving us a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, if you will, to see where it is that we are definitely expanding our perspectives and opening up to new visions, new dreams, new goals. The moon will make an awkward interaction with Mars, the god of war, ruling over physical energy, drive, passion, even anger, who is kind of stunted out in this Cancer energy. That's why many of us haven't had as much progress in productivity as we would have thought here in this Aries season that Mars rules over. And it's because we're kind of stuck in this emotional back and forth in this Cancer energy, and we're still trying to identify what feels good and what it is that we really need to be building. And so we're not making as much straightforward progress as we would like in this Mars energy. However, this particular interaction is going to show us where it is that we are gaining a little bit more frustrated, a little bit more angered, if you will, with the lack of progress, with the lack of being able to identify what it is that we actually need in our lives as far as routines and foundations go, to take care of ourselves, to support ourselves, to build the proper foundation here and now, and doing it right the first time around, so that we can actively start building something on top of this very strong foundation. The moon will make a positive interaction with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, wisdoms, blessings. And because the moon in Aquarius energy provides us with a bigger, broader picture and perspective of what's going on here, we're starting to see where new opportunities may not be falling in our lap, but where the potential for us to create new opportunities is definitely being illuminated. The moon then semi-squares Neptune, which isn't going to feel so good. This is the realization of what it is that we actually want for ourselves, and equally the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that are coming up, preventing us from actually going after this new direction, this new path, this new project, this new vision. Venus will then go ahead and interact with the North Node in an opportunity to kind of see choice points, let's say. Now, of course, Venus is in Gemini energy now, so things are a little bit lighter, very stuck in the mental plane. We're kind of exploring our curiosity, exploring where it is that we can experiment in our lives, kind of spice things up, and where it is that we're being illuminated to new things that bring us happiness, joy, and pleasure. This particular energy, because the North Node is involved and that's the path that we need to be on, this is going to lend us a particular perspective on where it is that maybe we're feeling like we have to abandon the old, abandon the path, abandon the direction, abandon the interest, just to see what lies on the other side of the fence. Now, is the grass greener? Is it really greener on that other side? That is a risk that right now we're trying to figure out if we're willing to take. Venus then squares, gets into the boxing ring, with Saturn, which is definitely not going to feel good. What's going to happen here is that we're likely going to slip into the negative Nancy perspective. We're going to explore all of the negative outcomes. Our anxiety is going to peak. We're going to start kind of creating situations that will likely never happen, but what needs to happen is we kind of have to sit in this funk. We have to sit in our insecurities, because that is the point in time where we kind of give ourselves a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a reality check. Again, Saturn's energy. And that reality check brings us to a place of realistic outcomes. Because many times, in case you haven't noticed, when you sit around and create anxiety about futuristic situations and all the ways that they could go and all the ways that they could end, you soon realize that they didn't happen anywhere near the way that you conjured up would happen inside your headspace. So what do? We got to give our head a shake. We got to come back down to earth. We got to be realistic with what it is that we actually think, we actually feel, instead of moving into this over-exaggerated hyper state of anxiety. So this particular interaction is definitely going to illuminate for us where it is that we're not feeling so connected to the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. Maybe where it is that we're not feeling so content with life, satisfied with our circumstances. Maybe in relationship dynamics, you're realizing where it is that you do not feel safe, secure, supported, encouraged, or even loved. And all of these negative perspectives, although mostly overly paranoid, definitely taking us down a path that we have to explore those darker parts of ourselves, really kind of see where it is that we have guards up, where it is that we're trying to kind of convince ourselves to settle in our lives, and where it is that we're a little bit guarded, if you will, with truly expressing our thoughts and our feelings to those around us. So we're definitely going to find ourselves kind of moving into the fear-based thoughts, the doubts, the insecurities. But again, this is kind of necessary in order for us to realize that we've reached the depth of the dark pit in which we've dug the hole ourselves and put ourselves in. And at a certain spot, you have to realize, wow, I dug this hole. It's pretty dark down here. It kind of smells. It's a little bit dirty. Maybe I should stop digging myself deeper and create a strategy on how I'm going to get myself out of here. So this is kind of the emotional and mental processing that we currently are in and will have to process through, leading us to major breakthroughs. This funk isn't going to take place for very long. We have the moon making a positive interaction with the sun. Of course, the sun shining a bright light on where it is that we want to start fresh, where we want to clean the slate, where we want to take action, make moves, progress ourselves in the world. While the moon, typically speaking, has us very connected to the past. Because the moon is in Aquarius energy, we're able to see things from a bigger, broader perspective, but it's also a fixed sign, which means that we're looking at our attachments. We're looking at where it is that we're resisting change. And of course, we have to bridge the gap. And in the bridging of that gap, we're left with this present moment where we're seeing what it is we have to kind of create distance from in order to open up the space for us to lean into new topics, themes, paths, directions. And of course, new spark, new passion, new desires under that fiery energy of both the sun and Aries. The moon will square off with Mercury, ruler of the mental plane. So square, of course, is a conflict. It's a tension point in order to illuminate where it is that we really have to process, work through some of our thoughts and our emotions that we are hung up on, creating blockages from us and moving forward. And of course, the moon being representative of our heart space, our emotions, and Mercury being representative of our head space and our thoughts. Our heart and our head definitely not on the same page as of right now. And a lot of that could be because Mercury is now in his pre-shadow period, preparing to go retrograde on the 21st. And B, it has a lot to do with the fact that the Taurus energy that Mercury's in doesn't want to really think that far into the future. We kind of want to stay in this present moment and look at our current circumstances. While the moon in Aquarius is so forward thinking that it means that we're having a little bit of a problem because emotionally we want to fast forward ourselves out of these particular situations. But Mercury, mentally speaking, needs to kind of fixate on the circumstances of the here and now, figure out why we feel the way that we do, and come up with a constructive, very plain, basic, simple plan on how it is that we're going to move through these particular emotions. So there obviously is a disconnect between our heart and our head, and we are going to be illuminated to what it is that's actually standing in the way of that. The moon will make a positive interaction with Mars. Mars, of course, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, even our anger. This is a positive situation though, so we are going to tap into the best of it. Now, what is the best of it? Well, we are getting inspired. We are getting a little bit more motivated. We are getting a little bit more determined to do what needs to be done in order to take care of ourselves first and foremost. Why are we moving into this? Well, because we're being tested. What are we being tested in? Mostly our boundaries. What kind of boundaries? Energetic, emotional boundaries. So we are definitely seeing the bigger, broader picture here on where it is that we've kind of gotten stuck in a funk, and where it is that we are now trying to dig ourselves out of this funk, and where it is that we are identifying what it is that we need to feel safe, secure, and supported in actually moving forward. The moon will sextile, beautiful energy, with Chiron. This is a beautiful kind of, I'm going to say, validation point, because again, we started off the day with a harmonious aspect between the moon and Chiron. This is kind of like a double whammy, showing us the growth, the development, the progress, the productivity that we've been making through sorting through our thoughts and our emotions in a very timely fashion. We're not sitting in the funk as long. We're not hooked up on things, especially the negative things, as long as we used to. We're processing things from a very, very high level of our soul selves and a much shorter time frame, which is just a beautiful thing. The last thing that we have here on the go is the moon squaring, getting into the boxing ring with Uranus, its ruler. Now, Uranian energy in Taurus, again, this is kind of mimicking some of the other cluster Fs that we have experienced here today, just because, again, the Taurus energy wants us to stay in this present moment. The Aquarian energy wants us to think so far into the future that the present moment isn't even seen from that particular point in the future. And the Uranian energy that usually leads us to a breakthrough, this is a negative aspect, which means that we have to get into the boxing ring and break down before that breakthrough can come into play. What are we breaking down, you may ask? Well, we're breaking down where it is that we're overly attached to the circumstances, to the situations that we're actively praying to get out of. Many times we have hopes and wishes and dreams, and really kind of put all the prayers out there to kind of see our circumstances change, when realistically speaking, we're the ones that got to get out of our own way. We're the ones that have to kind of detach with our old ways of doing things, our old ways of looking at things, our old ways of feeling through things. And so this isn't going to feel good. It's going to feel a little bit anxiety filled, a little bit jittery, a little bit pressurized from the inside out. But again, we do have to experience a breakdown before we get gifted and blessed with a breakthrough.